So I think they should go with Kaiir Elam from Florida. Definitely, I think cornerback is their main need right now. So I think I'd go with him.
And welcome back to yet another Buffalo Bills pregame. So glad to have you here. I'm Randy. We got Dan with me for an analysis. And thank you so much for being part of Buffalo Bills pregame. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to our videos so you can stay on top of all the Buffalo Bills game videos. Up next, we have our draft review. And as predicted, for the second time only in the history of Buffalo Bills pregame, our man Dan has predicted the correct first-round pick. And in the latest of any picks that we've had, at number 23, the Bills drafted Kaiir Elam, the Florida cornerback. And why did you accurately predict that he would be the first-round pick of the Buffalo Bills?
You know, I don't know if I have a good necessarily reason about why I picked him. I just think that cornerback was definitely the biggest need for the Bills going into the draft, and they certainly addressed that. Trading up a few spots with the Baltimore Ravens to pick him, and I think he's going to be a guy who's day one, he's going to be on the field a lot, and he's got a very good shot to be the number one cornerback, at least before Tre'Davious White comes back. But I think he's going to be seeing a lot of playing time right away.
Well, the Bills' base defensive package tends to be nickel, that they run that more than anything else. So it's hard to imagine a scenario where he's not the top three cornerbacks. So you're absolutely right, that you see the field right away. But do you think Dane Jackson's position as the second receiver behind Tre'Davious is safe? Or do you think that right off the bat, Elam will be challenging for the second cornerback spot?
Well, so I think with the Bills losing Levi Wallace, Dane Jackson played great last year, and I think he'll definitely he'll be getting a lot of playing time. But at the same time, I think Kaiir Elam is definitely going to be the number one guy in my opinion. He's going to have a lot of tough competition. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. There's a lot of great receivers in the AFC East, so it's going to be interesting to see how he performs.
And I think that's one thing that our coaching staff and front office does is see the teams that they're facing up against and prepare a team that is ready to go up against those. In the second round, one thing that marked the Bills front office during the drought was spending high-end draft capital on running backs. And for the first time since Sean McDermott's been here, we've drafted a running back in the second round or earlier. Brother of Dalvin Cook, we have James Cook, running back out of Georgia. I think the immediate question is, since he is a higher pick than either Singletary or Moss, do you think that James Cook is going to be the favorite to take over as the first running back position for the Bills?
So I think with the way the Bills have used their running backs, Singletary and Moss last year, they both got their fair share of carries. I think this is going to affect Moss's future with the Bills more than anything. But I think if you draft someone in the second round, especially a running back, I think that's telling as to how much they're going to play. I think he'll definitely be a guy who gets a lot of action. And, because I think Singletary played great, especially towards the end of the year last year. But it's definitely, in this era of the NFL where it seems like the value of running backs has gone down, this could be heading towards the end for Singletary and Moss. And, I think that's the best way to do it, is to draft a guy high up in the draft as opposed to spending big money in free agency for a running back.
And it keeps the money of the position low, too, keeping people on their rookie contracts in that position. Into the third round, they went to the defensive side with Terrel Bernard from Baylor at linebacker, with Milano and Edmunds holding down the middle linebacker position. Do you see this more as a depth pick, or is this possibly a replacement for Edmunds when his term comes up?
I think Edmunds is someone who's definitely going to want a lot of money, so that's going to be a tough decision. So I think this is going to be more maybe year one. We'll see how he is in training camp, but I think this will definitely be, he might be rotating in a little bit more than the first two guys.
especially with the nickel being the base package. Like I said, you have 2 linebackers on. So, but the Bills do like to rotate to keep players fresh quite a bit. Skipping the 4th round for the 2nd year in a row, we next land in the 5th round with Khalil Shakir from Boise State at wide receiver. Plays both slot and wide receiver in what has been a crowded wide receiver room. Do you think Khalil fits into the mix this year?
I think I really like that pick, especially because I believe he dropped quite a bit. I think he was supposed to go in an earlier round. So I definitely really like this pick. I know he's a big physical receiver. And I think he's definitely going to play. He's going to be going in right in. I'm not sure Jamison Crowder, I can't remember if it wasn't just a 1-year contract, but, he might take some of those snaps. But no, I really like this pick. I think wide receiver is definitely something that needed to be addressed.
Coming up in the 6th round, a polarizing pick for sure. We come in at punter from San Diego State, Matt Araiza, the punt god. Is this the next Brian Moorman? Is this the next punter to be on or at least in contention for the Ring of Honor someday?
I think it's definitely possible. I was saying before the show, I think in all of my years being a Bills fan, I don't remember the Bills ever drafting a punter. So, he must have something, especially with a nickname like Punt God. And, with how Matt Haack performed towards the end of the year last year, where, it just did not seem... It always just seemed like he took some weird extra step when he was punting. Every time you were nervous he was going to get blocked. And that's how we lost week 1 last year against the Steelers, was because of a blocked punt. So that's definitely a position that I think every Bills fan knew that was something that needed to be addressed. So I don't mind them drafting a punter, especially in the 6th round.
Very polarizing, though, drafting a punter. It's funny to see people's reactions right off the bat. But I like the chance on taking a swing at what might be a changing, a defining figure at the position. So so be it if we lose another 6th round pick. But we had others in the same round. 5 picks later, we pick up the cornerback out of Villanova, Christian Benford. More depth at the defensive end or defensive back position, probably.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, like I said earlier, losing Levi Wallace, there's definitely some more space there. Siren Neal he's not bad. He's definitely more of a guy his role is special teams. So we'll see if this is a similar situation or how he fits in. I'm actually I learned something new, and I didn't realize that Villanova had a football team. So that was interesting. But, I think he'll definitely be more of a special teams guy.
Yeah, the people cut from the basketball team have to end up somewhere, I imagine. Having added to the offensive line during the offseason through free agency, it seems that they added depth on the offensive tackle with Luke Tenuta out of Virginia Tech. Anything about Luke?
I think it's always important to add depth to the offensive line. We even saw it last year, how interchangeable it was and how they always had different guys going in, because I feel like offensive line is the most injured position. I feel like there's always guys getting injured, so definitely good to add depth there. And I think he'll fit in well.
Now, you may have predicted the first choice all right, but I did say we get someone from Clemson, and the Bills made an honest man out of me with their last pick. Draft 231 out of Clemson, Baylon Spector at linebacker. Another depth choice, perhaps?
Yep, absolutely. And I think they almost wanted to get a guy from Clemson, knowing their history. But I don't know where he might fit in, because I think last year we were talking about Rachad Wildgoose, who I think he was either a 6th or 7th round pick, and he didn't even end up making the team. So we'll see how he fits in as well.
Well, I think the Bills overall did a great job of addressing needs that they needed to through the draft, getting some depth and value in terms of contracts, in terms of the best talent at the cheapest price, probably through getting a 2nd roundish pick. So I'm going to give the Bills a grade of B+ for this grade. I think I've made the point several times throughout the years that I think all the hype and attention over the draft is misplaced. I much prefer the baseball draft that kind of goes by the wayside. Other than the fact that it happened, the players go into developmental leagues and develop for a time before you really become aware of them. And I think that's probably a better way to treat players. Someone who has a nickname like Punt God coming into the pros right away. There's a lot of undue pressure, and if he had like a AAA system to develop for a couple of years, it might be a healthier spot to carry around that kind of nickname. So I'd like to take the moment right away to say I think these draft grades are kind of silly, but forced by the producer to choose a grade, I say B+.
I think I was gonna go with a B+ as well, but I feel like I can't copy you, so I might have to just go for an A- because I'm a Bills fan.
But the minus feels so personal.
You have a point. I think I almost wish they had gone a little bit higher for an offensive lineman. I think they struggled a little bit at that position last year, but I'm definitely not complaining. I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out.
I think when Josh Allen being younger and able to evade defenders more, like at this point in his career, it's safer to invest in like weapons for him as opposed to maybe in 5-6 years you invest more capital on protecting him when he's not as mobile, but taking advantage of his strengths while you can, perhaps.
All right, I think I definitely agree with that.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in for our draft review. It's always one of my favorite shows of the year. We will be back very, very soon with a season preview. But until then, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, like and subscribe, and go Bills!